A negotiation, you have a clear goal you're trying to get to, and you start at one point, the other side starts at another point, and ideally you both get to that goal. The problem here is President Trump doesn't quite seem to know what that goal is when it comes to immigration. The key person in the White House, of course, is the president himself. Senator Schumer described trying to negotiate with him like trying to negotiate with Jell-O, and he's someone who is pulled in a lot of ways, and himself, especially on this issue of these young dreamers, is very conflicted. He seems to want to get a deal for dreamers. He seems to sort of have a soft spot in his heart for them. He spoke about a possible bill. He called it a bill of love.
Because this should be a bipartisan bill. This should be a bill of love.
But he also, his gut has been where it's been for years, which is a very restrictionist, hardline immigration approach. And so whenever he gets to one point, if it seems like he's giving concessions to the dreamers, he is very easily pulled back to that more hardline approach. That's what we saw with this shutdown, was the president talked to Chuck Schumer, and he seemed really close to a deal that would have given protections to the DACA recipients, but some border wall funding, and then he talks to other people in his administration, and he moves back to another side, and so he's sort of getting pulled in a bunch of directions, and in the middle of that is this shutdown. It's having someone in the White House as the president who either doesn't understand all of the policy nuances and details or doesn't care to understand them does make it trickier for people to try to pin him down and negotiate. He has a history of surrounding himself with people who encourage his sort of more populist, hardline impulses. So right now it's General Kelly and it's Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller wants to stay in the administration the entire time. That is the key question. If Stephen Miller is the brains behind Donald Trump or the puppeteer or the villain of this whole fight, depending on which side you're on. And I think the reality is a lot more complicated than that. Stephen Miller is incredibly knowledgeable and passionate about restricting legal immigration, make it move from low-skilled to high-skilled, secure the southern border. Miller views himself as someone who is carrying out the wishes that the president has expressed. And sometimes the president gets confused about those wishes, and Stephen Miller is there to remind him, hey, we talked about this last week, remember what you said, and bring him back to that place. Within the White House, those are the primary drivers, but there's members of Congress he talks to who are in that view. There's Senator Cotton, there's Senator Perdue, there's a number of the House Freedom Caucus members, and then, of course, there's all these conservative pundits, the Ann Coulters and the Laura Ingrahams of the world, and what he reads on Breitbart and what he sees on Fox News. And there's a lot of chatter outside the White House, too, that reminds him, hey, you promised a big, beautiful wall. If you break that promise, a lot of people are going to revolt.